again today. That's awesome sauce. No, we'll do that. Okay, get the poll question in here. And all right. Couple housekeeping things. This is Learning Live. You're going to need note-taking materials, physical or virtual, whatever works best for you. And then you will need a second device. Go to the turnarounddoctor.com. And once you're there, go to the 74 Principles of Real Leadership tab and then scroll all the way to the bottom. We are in the knowledgeable section and we are in Know Your Business. Note-taking materials, second device. Go to turnarounddoctor.com, 74 Principles of Real Leadership. Scroll down to the knowledgeable section, and we are at number 2. If you don't know, number 3. If you don't know, ask. With that being said, go ahead and on your own, inhale and exhale 3 times, deep cleansing breaths, just to let the brain know we are getting ready to learn. I am Dr. Donna Louise Thomas-Rodgers, daughter of Leslie Darnell Thomas, granddaughter of Arthur Jethro Evelyn II, and great-granddaughter of Levi Thomas. Welcome to your morning mental workout. Today's topic, if you don't know, ask. How do we get here? Neurogenesis. That's the creation of new neurons. Ding, 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 ding. And then those neurons fire off. They create synapse. Good morning, Sabrina. And then what you have is what is known as neuroplasticity. And that is the brain's ability to wire itself to be able to have skills and behaviors and do what it do, baby. You combine those two together with the 74 principles of real leadership, as well as the theory of personal accountability, and you arrive at neuropability. That's the brain's ability to wire itself to use the 74 principles of real leadership to create unlimited neural pathways so that you can access your best day in and day out. Now, all this magic happens in the frontal lobe that's located in the prefrontal cortex of the brain. We use the executive function here, which is known as the CEO of the brain. So without further ado, let's use it. For those of you who are new, welcome. If you're watching on the replay, welcome. What I have done is I have given an overview of the 74 Principles of Real Leadership. You can go to the 74 Principles of Real Leadership playlist here on my YouTube channel. Start at the bottom, work your way up, and you will catch up to us at some point. And I've also decided, after giving an overview, to review each individual principle of real leadership. We are coming around third. We will be finished early next week. Some time frame, I think it's Thursday, if I'm not mistaken. So mid next week, basically almost at the end. Okay, so the point is this. I go over the principle, but I also define each and every individual word in the principle so that you understand it in all of its totality. With that being said, let's go ahead and get this party started. I might be sneezing this morning because we had a lot of rain and a hailstorm, and it brought down a bunch of things to the earth. If you have not done so already, go ahead and vote in the poll question. So if you don't know, ask. Now, am I sneezing? Okay, so Nola, my daughter, is on the live as well, and we have been working on her asking questions since she was in the second grade. Yesterday, we had a lengthy discussion that worked out. We had to handle conflict when it occurs, and so the main thing was you got to start asking even more questions. And so it was apropos that the conflict occurred, and that this morning, timing just works. Gotta love the universe, higher power, and God. And so now we're at if you don't know, ask. If you find yourself not asking enough questions today, we're going to understand why that is, and then most importantly, what you can do to start asking questions when you don't know. So the word if means something that is not certain. Something that is not certain. If, not really certain about that. You yourself personally, you means yourself. And then don't is a verb that indicates the absence of. So if you don't, that means there is an uncertainty that you don't. You have the absence of. And then the word know means to have information, understanding, or awareness about something. So if you don't means that if you are uncertain about the absence of something. and that means that you don't have the information, which is to know, then guess what you do? You ask. And the definition of ask is to request information by posing a question or making a request. So if it's something that is not certain, you is yourself. Don't is a verb that indicates the absence of. Know is to have information, understanding, or awareness about something. To have information, understanding, or awareness about something. And then ask is to request information by posing a question or making a request. For those of you who will be watching on the replay, we have a Sunno lover who has decided to infiltrate my live this morning and say welcome to Earth. Not quite sure why this person is here or what their modus operandi is this morning. It is a disruption for people who are actually here to learn how to start asking questions when they don't know. Now, I'm assuming that this person is just live jumping to just do this because they are seeking a dopamine boost, a manufactured dopamine boost. So instead of producing their own natural dopamine, they've decided that this is something, good morning, that they should be participating in this morning. Okay, so time out. Why are you here? Why are you here this morning? Sunno lover, why are you here this morning? What is your objective? I asked you, what is your objective? What is your objective for waking up this morning and bringing your whatever this is to a live that is talking about the brain and leadership? What is your objective this morning? Let's get this shit going. Hurry up and do what you think you need to do. Rapido. Vámonos. Why are you here this morning? And don't come with no fucking hypothetical universal bullshit. Because the universe, higher power, and God did not tell you to come disrupt what they already told me to do. So before you start with that rhetoric bullshit, you didn't. You did not come here saying that because you said, welcome to Earth. You did not come to see what's happening here. Because if you did, you would have had a question. It literally says, if you don't know, ask. You came here with some antics. You did not come because if you wanted to know what was happening, right above my head, it says, if you don't know, ask. That's what it said. So you decided, welcome to Earth would be a great sentence to start. You've never been here before. You don't follow this channel, but you're here this morning with antics. Disruptive antics. Okay. Okay, so here's what's going to take place. You are going to stop typing. If you plan on staying on this live and being as disruptive as you actually are, you can go. Or you can go gather note-taking materials and you can be extremely quiet until I ask you if you have questions. So right now, let us know which one you're deciding. And if you can't make a decision, trust and believe that I will be deciding for you. So are you staying and learning, or are you exiting? Or are you being escorted out by security? Which one are you doing? Let's go. Hurry up. Hurry up. So if we are wondering why I stopped, what I don't participate in is people grandizing, people with their own agendas coming to disrupt what they believe they want with their stupid ass rhetoric and welcome to earth and bullshit like that. I don't have time for that. I have zero fucking tolerance for it, especially when I am teaching something that you actually need. So for those of you who are here for the first time, and if this intimidates you, you need to go, because I hold people personally accountable. Okay, so I see where we're going this morning. Got it. Yes, I actually do believe in Jesus, Adriel, and I believe that you are not hearing from Jesus right now because I've already been anointed and appointed to teach this. So as you come here with your church religious rhetoric, you are at the wrong live. Jesus did not wake you up this morning and tell you to come here and ask me the question. I am talking about the brain. That's why I have a brain t-shirt on. So what possessed you this morning to ask me about Jesus? Because Jesus didn't tell you to do this. Not at all. Jesus did not tell you to ask me that. Because the Bible says you will know them by their fruit. So apparently you can't recognize the right fruit. Okay. Here's what God is telling me to tell you, okay? Because you ain't hearing from Jesus. This some raggedy ass pastor that's telling you to do this bullshit right here, okay? So before I remove you from my live, Jesus, God, or the Holy Spirit didn't tell you to do none of this. You are operating on your own, out of order. That's what you're doing right now. So you're not about to type nothing else because you're about to be removed. Okay, and once again, religious people, don't come over here with that bullshit because you did not hear from God to come disrupt me. If you're hearing from God, you know good and well you don't disrupt what I'm doing because I'm already doing what I was told to do. So for the people here, for the people getting ready to watch later on the replay, don't question whether I believe in a higher power or not. This ain't the live for you to be doing that. Go take your behind somewhere else with your rhetoric and your church shit and your religious shit, because ain't none of that coming from God for real, for real. So don't ever try to get into a spiritual battle with me, because you will lose, okay? You will lose because you can't recognize what has been anointed and appointed, okay? You can't recognize it. So obviously you need to go back. You a babe in Christ. Don't come over here with the mature folks, okay? Are we clear? And don't nobody else interrupt me. If you don't know, ask. If you don't know, ask. So that's the definition. So my question to the group that's actually here to learn, the regulars for today, is why don't people ask questions when they don't know something? Why don't people ask questions when they don't know something? ... a brain, whatever it is that you need to type in. And we talked about this yesterday, and I'm going to talk about it again today. So if anyone is wondering what my irritation is, I'm sick of hypocrites. I am beyond exhausted from hypocrites. These holy roller, Bible thumping, non-Christian ass motherfuckers want to come over here and try to act like you're doing God's work. You're not, because you don't even recognize one of your own people. Hypocrites. I'm gonna come over here, I'm gonna get on the internet, and I'm gonna go troll people's lives and see if Jesus loves you. That's the weakest line I ever heard. You sound like a motherfucker in the club at 1 o'clock in the morning trying to take somebody home. Do you believe in Jesus? Did you know that God loves you, baby? Did you know that the Lord is on your side, girl? Look at you. You're just a sinner that need to be saved by grace. Don't get out of here with that bullshit. Kevin said, fear of being exposed in their educational level. Yep. Not recognizing when to ask questions. And then Regina's answer will be popping up. And I need to turn this down so I can answer myself without hearing myself. They really need to put mute buttons on Android products. And my answer is fear. People don't ask questions because of fear. All types of fear. Fear, nevertheless. And Regina's answer is maybe they're embarrassed to look ignorant, don't want to look stupid, maybe asking questions wasn't encouraged while growing up. Okay, thank you all for your answers. And let's see what I have for you today. Number one answer is fear of judgment. Fear of judgment. If you ask the question, as Kevin and Regina said, if you ask the question, people are like, you're a dumbass. Nola was in magnet school and smart classes all the time. And so their whole thing, we call them QEs because of high IQs. The QEs. Oh my gosh, you don't know that? Oh, you don't know that answer? Oh my God. Oh my, really? Like you don't, oh my God, it's so simple. It's so easy. And so people make you feel bad because you don't know. So then you become programmed. What I've also learned is that sometimes the teachers didn't know the answer. So the teachers didn't want to go beyond their regular rhetoric that the district told them to say. So they would discourage you from asking questions. And because I taught that to you last week. Did you not take notes? And so the whole people just make you feel stupid. And that's where their whole thing comes from. The only dumb question is a question that's not asked, because unaccountable people will make you feel dumb for seeking information. They will make you feel inferior. How come you don't know that? How come you don't know that? And they will judge you accordingly. Number two is embarrassment or shyness. So I mentioned before, growing up, I didn't really talk a lot, grew up in a toxic household, or you don't know the answer. So as Regina said, you don't want to be embarrassed. You don't want to feel ignorant. But that doesn't happen when you're working on personal accountability. It only takes place for unaccountable people with those big giant ass egos, that low confidence, and that low self-esteem, because negativity bias is real, conformity bias, confirmation bias, all the biases and the isms want you to feel bad. They want you to feel bad so they can feel better. People who are addicted to dopamine wake up, fight, flight, freeze, or appease all day long. And the more you make people feel bad, you get higher and higher from it. And then you just wake up making people feel bad because it makes you feel strong and superior. So you embarrass people when they ask what you think are ignorant or stupid questions. And if you're too shy, if you are intimidated by somebody, if you are second guessing yourself, if you don't want to raise your hand, you're like, I'm not going to ask, so I'm going to just sit here. And then if you're trained at home, like we grew up in an impoverished existence, and so we were shy to ask my mother for any money related anything. I had a dysfunctional relationship with money well into my 20s because of that. You don't have it, and if you ask, no! And then you're like, okay, well, I'm not going to ask. I'm going to just sit over here, and I'm never going to bring money up again. And so now, having financial conversations, I'm not asking questions about it because of the we don't have it, you get yelled at, we don't have it, so then you stop. So you might even be asking questions in a multitude of areas in your life, and then there may be only one or two or three areas where you're shy and inexperienced, and you're just like, I'm not going to ask that question. Number three is assumptions of common knowledge. So because of assumptions of common knowledge, people may assume they're expected to already know the answer and believe others will find their questions trivial or obvious. And so the assumption of common knowledge. I had this experience when I became a second lieutenant in the military, and I got there and everybody had all this other information. They knew about wars and their grandparents had served. And it didn't even dawn on me until after I was out of the military. My grandfather served in World War II. Never even made the connection because everybody else's stories were so grand. And he didn't tell the stories because obviously he was African American and Barbadian. So definitely did not have the same experience as my European American peers in OBC. So I'm just sitting there like, how do y'all know all this? How do y'all know all of this? And then it was like, you don't know. And so I'm just like, okay, I ain't gonna say nothing because I'm supposed to already know this. I don't know how I'm supposed to already know this. My ROTC program didn't cover this. Like, did y'all have another class or something? Because I don't know about any of this. So much so that my aunt, we had to come there already with our rank, so our rank and our core, our MP branch and rank on our uniform. My aunt sewed my rank on improperly because she was used to it being vertical because that's what she did for my uncle. And it was supposed to be parallel because I was an officer. So when I got there, my rank was on backwards and everybody made fun of me. That lasted for about 3 weeks. She couldn't get the cross pistols right because enlisted wear their rank on both sides. So it was an interesting experience. They already all knew that. I was the first officer in my family, so I didn't know, didn't have that information, and the internet was not well and alive. And my mother, for some reason, wasn't paying attention, and she worked on an military installation. So anyway, it's interesting, but common knowledge things that I did not have. I got to high school, went to a CTA high school, and those people, it's one thing when you're the smartest class in the elementary school, but when you got over 4,000 students, that's all smart. Yeah, you find out exactly how much you don't know, and then you just sit back like, okay, I'm supposed to know this. I don't know this, but let's pray on this test. Go ahead, turn it in. Let's see what we got. And I got C's. Okay, number 4 is, once again, cultural factors. In some cultures, asking questions might be seen as challenging authority or disrupting the flow, and it discourages inquiry. So in some cultures, asking questions might be seen as challenging authority or disrupting the flow or discouraging inquiry. Now, when someone comes on this live and they genuinely have a question and I see the question pop up, I will say, I see your question, I'm gonna get to it, or I will continue to say what I'm going to say and then go back to the question. So that's not what this instance is. In the instance that the 2 people that came on here in the beginning were just being disruptive. That I can feel the energy. I know you're like, we're on the phone. How can you feel the energy? Because I can feel the energy when someone is being disruptive or seeking to actually understand what is actually taking place by what they're saying, what their username is, and what their profile photo is. I make a quick this one gonna be a problem assessment. I know y'all probably didn't know that, or maybe I have said that before, but that's what I do to determine very quickly how I'm going to engage. 7 levels of engagement on the live. So that's not what we're talking about. What we're talking about here is that in some cultures, especially for X's and above, we grew up where you don't question authorities. Adult says it, you do it because I said so is the answer, and then you just go off and do it. You don't ever question authority, which is another reason why it took me 48 years and 360 days to sever the relationship with my immediate family, because you grow up and you just put up with it, and you honor and respect adults regardless of how disrespectful they're being to you. So you don't ask questions. And I used to ask questions, and then if they didn't know the answer, I got yelled at, got told you asking too many questions, why you can't figure it out, go look it up. The favorite thing in my house when I couldn't spell a word was go look it up in the dictionary. How? Sound it out. Okay, so facade, that's yesterday's real leader brain. Facade. So facade, P-H-S-A, facade. P-H-S-O-D, because sod, facade. So I could be P-H-S-O-D for facade. How is facade actually spelled? F-A-C-A-D-E. So that sounded out. I'm going to be in the wrong part of the dictionary. I was going to be in the wrong part of the dictionary. Okay. Give me a second. I'm gonna keep that up there. 8,000 B,000 boo. I'm gonna go ahead and show it to prove a different point in a moment. Okay. So facade, and remember, y'all, I'm talking about facade when we see this ignoramus's comment. Okay. So cultural factors will stop you from asking questions because it will appear, yeah, that was phonetic, which was correct. Right. Exactly. Sound it out. And I did. And I'd have been in the wrong part of the whole dictionary. So that didn't work. And nobody ever sat down and said, hey, let's look at a different way to look these words up. So culturally, or if you're disrupting the flow. And so it discourages inquiry. And like I said, teachers who don't want to ask a lot of questions will then discourage you from asking questions. They'll be snapping it. You should know. I don't have time. I got to write this on the board. See me after class. And then after class, I got the next class. And so you just say, I don't know, and I'm not going to know. Number 5 is lack of curiosity. Lack of curiosity. And so I will tell this story that I had a soldier who was in my platoon in Korea. His name was Specialist Moses. He went on to go to OCS. I gave him his oath of office, which meant he stayed at MP. So then he came back to Fort McClellan and went to Officer Basic. By that time, I was there as an executive officer. I might even been, no, I was an HAZ commander because I had weekends off. So he and I went to, his brother went to a HBCU, and they were playing at one of the colleges in Atlanta. I forgot because they all sit on the four corners, so I can't remember which college it was. Obviously, it wasn't Spelman because they don't have a football team. I think it might have been Clark or Morris Brown. So we got there early because that's what people do in the military, and we were trying to figure out which way to park. So we pulled up to a parking lot, and we asked the gentleman there, well, you know, where do we park? How do we get in? Get the instructions, because we did that so we could go get something to eat and then come back for the game. And so we were just having a conversation with him. Now, the guard shack is looking out because people are pulling in. And there were a couple buildings that were in front, across the street in front of the guard shack. And so we asked him, we said, well, what are those buildings? What happens in those buildings? And he said, you know, I've been working here for years and I don't even know. And I was like, you've been working here for years. You sitting in the guard shack looking across the street, and you never wondered what was in any of those buildings. Were they classrooms, offices, nothing. You just didn't. And we said, okay, thanks. And then we had a conversation about that. So that's what popped up in my head yesterday when I was writing this down, is you don't have any curiosity. You're just like, I just don't need that information at all. I'm thinking there is no way that I could be in a guard shack and a building is across the street. And when I get off work, I don't go look the name of the building, go in the building. Hey, what's going on in this building that I have to look at every day? So just not curious. And I'm curious about everything. I ask a lot of questions. I'm like a toddler, 2.5-year-old, 3-year-old child. What's that, mommy? What's that? I want to know everything for sure. Number 6 is access to alternatives. Access to alternatives. You can look it up instead of asking someone. So now we can ask chat, we can ask Google, we can ask Grok, we can ask Alexa and Siri and everything else. So you don't ask another human being because you can ask AI. Now, sometimes AI's information is available and it will give you an answer, but sometimes you just really need the answer from the people that are around you. Because if you're asking about line 37 at the Orlando plant and that's located in Extruded when you're on second shift, and why Ronald doesn't make sure that the way hopper is weighing properly on the Allen belt, I don't know that Chat GPT is going to be able to answer that whole question. Now, if they can, hey, but that's some of that is trade secret. So I don't know if it will even be public information. So you can have alternatives to looking it up. Number 7 is fear of consequences. Fear of consequences. In certain contexts, workplaces and classrooms, people might avoid questions to not risk criticism, punishment, or drawing attention. Sometimes if you ask questions, especially in the military, you could get dropped. You'll go get you a nice little smoke session if you're asking questions. Or people are going to criticize you. Your dumb ass asking a question again. There you go, asking extra questions. Now you're going to give us extra homework. We didn't need to know all that. That ain't going to be on the test. Why did you ask them that? And so on and so forth. And here you go with your theoreticals. They're always asking something out of context. And it could draw attention to you, unwanted attention to you. But if it makes no sense, I'm going to ask the question, especially when we used to have that Stephen Covey training and all of that at Frito-Lay. I would be asking extra questions and pissing people off. But look at me now. And number 8, as I approach my 15th year anniversary. And number 8 is overconfidence. Some overestimate their own understanding, believing that they don't need clarification when they actually do. And this is my child who resembles this remark, getting better, but in the past, this was her thing. Overconfidence. Some overestimate their own understanding, believing they don't need clarification when they actually do. So encouraging a safe, open environment where questions are welcomed can help. That's why I say after every section, what questions do you have? What comments do you have? I learned that from being a continuous improvement master trainer at Frito-Lay to ensure that everyone understands before we move on to the next topic. And people are more likely to ask when they feel supported and unjudged. People are more likely to ask when they feel supported and unjudged. So, the 8 reasons why people don't ask questions when they don't know something is fear of judgment. That's number 1. Number 2, embarrassment or shyness. Number 3, assumption of common knowledge. Assumption of common knowledge. Number 4, cultural factors. Number 4, cultural factors. Number 5, lack of curiosity. Lack of curiosity. Number 6, access to alternatives. Access to alternatives. Number 7, fear of consequences. Fear of consequences. And number 8, overconfidence. Number 8, overconfidence. So what questions do you have about the 8 reasons why people don't ask questions? What comments do you have? What observations, ahas, didn't know, light bulb moments? Feel free to include that information at this time. We are still right on time, even with the other people's antics. I've decided against this person's antics. What I'm going to do is report. And Regina said, please repeat the cultural factors. Give me 1 second. So in some cultures, asking questions might, I forgot, you got to write this down. In some cultures, asking questions might be seen as challenging authority or disrupting the flow or discouraging inquiry. In some cultures, asking questions might be seen as challenging authority or disrupting the flow or discouraging inquiry. And I said, as an ex, having boomer parents, they told you what to do, you didn't question it because I said so. That was the end of it, and you went and complied with those commands. There was no dialogue. All right, so my question to you is not my question to you. So now we're going to talk about how to ask questions you don't know the answer to. Good morning, Lola. How to ask questions that you don't know the answer to. All right, number 1, prepare your mindset. Number 1, prepare your mindset. If you haven't done so, vote in the poll question. So in order to prepare your mindset, you're going to accept not knowing is normal and a chance to learn. So you have to accept not knowing is normal and a chance to learn. Last fall, I came out as a nerd. I started studying the brain because I have said that I wanted a PhD in neuroscience. I did my 8th grade project on the brain. I know shit about the brain. So I am in my neophyte stage of understanding the brain. So as a result, I don't know. Look at my background. Ain't nothing in it about no doggone neuroscience. So what you do is you remind yourself that asking shows curiosity and initiative, not weakness. So asking shows curiosity and initiative, not weakness. And we started out last year on Very Well Mind. And now I'm past anything that's on Very Well Mind. I'm studying neuroscientists. I'm following neurologists and all kind of things to get information. So much so that I got to look at ChatGPT and Grok to understand this amazing organ that we call the brain. And so you also have to let go of judgment. Most people appreciate genuine questions. Now that's what chat said. Most people don't appreciate genuine questions. It's a small group of people who actually appreciate questions being asked. Now, if you're asking them about the one thing that they know how to do that they've been doing for 50 years, they're going to appreciate a bazillion questions. But if you ask them a question about something they're avoiding or some shit they didn't best at, they're not going to appreciate the question at all. If you have a 60-year-old musician that said, I've been playing music for 45 years, and then they say they're a spouse and that they have children, and you start asking them parenting questions and grandparent information, and if they're a woman about menopause, they might not welcome those questions. Hey, why you getting you all up in my business now? No, I want to talk about this bass that I play or this song that I sing. So it depends on who you're talking to, and it depends on how transparent and willing they are, their willingness to answer those questions. So I wouldn't say most people. I would say people who hold themselves personally accountable, and they appreciate genuine questions because they're focused on best every day. Number 2, clarify your goal. So basically, prepare your mindset as a strategy. I know I don't know this. It's okay. I got to go ask somebody. Number 2 is clarifying your goal. Identify what you need. So do you need facts? Do you need a process? Do you need a perspective? So what information are you actually seeking? And then focus your question to avoid vagueness. And this is an example from chat. Tell me about physics. That's too broad. A more focused question is, how does gravity affect falling objects? So if you say, tell me about personal accountability, that's a loaded question. But if you say, tell me about reading is fundamental, that's one of the 74 principles of real leadership, then I can say, oh, cool. So this came about because I couldn't read. And then I had to teach myself how to read. And this is how you get information. It's also how you increase your working memory. And I can give you a more targeted answer. But if you actually want to know about why reading is fundamental, but you say, tell me about personal accountability, I'm going to answer the question that you asked. And that's not going to be your answer. You're going to say, see, she don't know what she's talking about. I can only garbage in, garbage out. Good question to me, good answer to you. Vague question to me, broad answer to you. That's how that works. Number 3, choose the right person or source. Choose the right person or source. So don't go to Uncle Jerry because he's a lawyer, he's a millionaire, and now you asking him about business. He made his money defending criminals, high-end criminals. He can't tell you how to run a business. He has a law practice. He does not, and technically it's a business, but he can't tell you how to run a manufacturing site. He could tell you legally what you better do so everything will be in order, but he can't tell you what to do. So make sure that you're not asking a thought leader and you're not asking an expert. You're actually asking somebody who actually can give you an answer that you can actually use. So find someone or a resource that is actually knowledgeable, real applicable knowledge, not just some fodder, some nice little theoretical shit, but practical information that you can actually use, some facts, a process, or perspective that you can implement. That's what you're looking for. And then you want to consider the context when you're choosing this person. Is it formal? Is it informal, online, or in person? If it's formal, it's an email. Hey, how you doing? I'm seeking da-da-da. If it's informal, you can say, hey, I was wondering about this. Can you help me out? If it's online, the online communication is different than the in-person communication. That's why communicate effectively is one of the 74 principles of real leadership. And then finally, tailor your approach accordingly. So if you are talking to a 20-year-old and you're 70, your approach might be different. If you're a 20-year-old and you're talking to someone 70, the approach will be different to get the information from that person or that source. Sometimes, especially before I start using chat and Grok, I will have to reframe the question 5 times to get the answer that I needed out of Google in order for it to give the response that I needed. So you really have to understand what the approach is. So how I ask the question on Google is not how I ask the question on Grok, which is not how I ask the question on chat when you're using these AI resources. Now, number 4, frame the question clearly. So frame the question clearly. And this is something that Nola and I are working on. Start with context. Don't just come up and start talking like you're in the middle of the movie. And Nola will start a conversation from earlier that morning, 2 days ago, and we'll be driving, and then she'll give me an answer and say, the SEC coaches, da 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 da. And we will be saying, okay, turn right on Magnolia. And now she's telling me about the SEC coaches. And I'm like, what the hell? Why are we talking about the SEC coaches when I said turn right on Magnolia? So I need context. Remember 2 days ago, I just remembered. Here is what the SEC coaches are doing now. What are your thoughts about? And now I can contribute. So clarifying the context in which we're speaking has to happen in order for you to get this targeted answer. Now you want to use simple, direct language. You don't want a bunch of technical jargon, 15 syllable words, pie in the sky, theoretical, because people can't apply it. Then one of the reasons why I stopped attending organized religious morning services or whatever is because it was too theoretical. It was way out there. I'm like, why y'all just can't speak in layman's terms and tell me what I need to do? What's all this? It was like, yeah, I'm good. I got to go back home and look at my notes and try to figure out what's said. I know there's 15 different types of Bibles and all that, but I'm like, just give it to me straight, no chaser. So that 8 o'clock service is for straight, no chasers. Let us hear it. Go do the philosophical, fine, jumping up shit for the group coming behind us. Simple language. Now, in order to do that, you go back to the who, what, why, where, when, and how. And that's what we're working on with Nola as well. She'll say, I did ask a question. And I'll say, no, you didn't. You made a statement. You did not ask a question because the question starts with who, what, why, when, where, how. That's how you know that you're actually asking a question. So frame the question clearly. That's number 4. Number 5, be honest and humble. Be honest and humble. And we know be honest is one of the 74 principles of real leadership. So admit that you don't know. I'm unfamiliar with this. Can you help me understand? And when you do that, these are statements, but you're saying is, I'm unfamiliar with Snapchat. How do you use Snapchat? I'm unfamiliar with Twitter. These are questions that I ask people. How do you use it? I thought Jiffies were stupid. And then Nola said, this is how you use it. And I said, okay, well, how do you create a Jiffy? Because now this makes sense to me. So you want to be honest about not knowing. And that means you're going to have to override some trauma, some judgment, some embarrassment, and everything else. But for me, I don't care. I don't care who I got to ask to get the information, because at the end of the day, I already got a track record as best. And this is going to lead me to my next goal. So I need that information. I will scour the earth to get the answer that I need, because it's a tool and a resource for me to continue to grow forward. And can grow continually is one of the 74 principles of real leadership. So be honest, be humble, but don't be kissing nobody. Ask, oh, you need some information from me. No, that's not the person that you ask. Keep it moving and go to the person who actually understands your ability to be honest and humble, respects it, and then gives you the information, tools, resources, facts, whatever it is that you need. Number 6 is pick the right moment. Pick the right moment. So if you're in a group, wait for a relevant point in the discussion to ask a question. Don't just, like, people just come on live and just start typing shit without even considering, without looking, without scrolling to see what's already taking place. Just bam, you're just gonna start asking a question or not, or commenting. Say hi to me, say good morning to me, tell my friend happy birthday. No. So make sure that there is a breaking point in the discussion. If you are one-on-one setting, ask the person when it isn't rushed. So if somebody is walking and running to a meeting, that's not the time to ask. If they're at their desk, hey, how you doing? You call, hey, you busy? Or like schedule time with you because I've got some questions that I would like for you to answer if you're willing. And then if it's urgent, and politely say this: I know you're busy, but could you quickly explain? I know you're busy, but I need this information right now. So if there is a sense of urgency, now you just have to do the context of, I need this information in order for me to turn this in. I need this information in order for me to submit this. Whatever it is, you're giving them context. And then that person says, okay, stop. Here you go. Here's the answer. Keep it pushing. And then number 7 is listen actively. Listen actively. So you pay attention to the answer, take notes if needed, and avoid interrupting. So I am a note taker. When I don't know something, hold on. Let me get my notebook. Let me get my highlighter, my red pen, and my black pen. Okay, I'm ready. I'm going to take copious notes so that once I write it down and review it a couple times, it's going to sit there right there in my long-term memory, and I can access it when I need to. And in listen actively, you're going to ask follow-up questions if it's still unclear. And here are 2 examples. So does this mean? Can you give me an example? So when Nola is talking, he, she, the, or she's like, yeah, we're going to do this, do this, do this. I'm going to need you to show me. Let's do a walkthrough. Do you have a video? Do you have a picture? And now point to what it is that you're talking about, because that's not clear to me. So if it's not clear, we're going to try to pick something up. We're going to pick it up wrong. I mean, we're going to end up at the wrong location, or something is not going to go well. So when something is unclear, even after they've answered the question, ask follow-up questions so that it becomes clear as a bell and not clear as mud. Number 8 is practice politeness. Practice politeness. So you want to use please and thank you. And then additionally, you want to respect their time. So keep it concise unless they invite you into a deeper discussion. So please and thank you. And then, hey, I know time is money and precious. Here's what I need from you. And if they say, oh, no, hey, sit down, have a seat. Let's talk. Oh, yeah, we'll just stay on the phone. Got it. Or if they go back and forth with emails back and forth, then you know that the person has the time and is willing to give you more detailed information. Number 9 is start small. Start small. Notice a lot of the things that we've been talking about, especially in the pink section, is start small. Go slow to go fast. Do a strategy. Forget what the cultural people are saying. Do this yourself. They all have similar processes in order for you to get things done. So start small. If you're nervous, practice low stakes. And Nola, we just talked about this last night. If you're nervous, practice low stakes questions in casual conversations or privately. This will allow you to build confidence by asking questions regularly, and it's going to help you grow with practice. So what does that mean? I told Nola yesterday, start with asking questions that you already know the answer to, because what you're doing is you're creating the, if you don't know, ask neural pathway. So if you're already self-conscious, if you're already like, ooh, judgment, like, ooh, I'm going to be embarrassed, then you're going to have a hijacked amygdala and you're not going to be able to do it. So you want to ask questions like, what time is it? Something that you can see yourself. But what's today's weather going to be? What time we leaving? What's for dinner? What shoes should I put on? What do you think? This shirt or that shirt? And so you're going to pick things that you already know. When's your birthday? When's mother's birthday? These things will get the neural pathway to, I'm going to just ask a question, because you got to start being accustomed to asking a question, and that will get it going. And then you can start asking simple things like, what day is it? What time are we going to that? When are we going to that party next month? Because now you actually don't know the answer to that, but you do know that you're going to a party, an event. What day are you leaving? You're traveling out of the country next week. What day are you leaving? What airline are you taking? So it's these very simple questions that's not good. Why are you asking? Nobody is going to do that, especially if you're traveling with someone. That's going to get that neural pathway going to get you some momentum. So then you will be accustomed to doing it. So ask questions, small questions, simple questions throughout your day. And the neural pathway is being built and the synapses is happening. Neuron fire, you're going to keep asking questions. And then you build up the momentum so that when you really need to know something like neuroscience, you have no issue with finding out who has the information. So start small. And then number 10, and this is the final one, follow up. Follow up. Reflect on the answers and apply it. If you still don't get it, ask again or seek another source. I looked it up, but I'm still confused about. I started with Very Well Mind. Went on to see other articles, other neuroscience. I was on the Mayo Clinic and Johns Hopkins and everything else. Ran out of their information, and then I had to go to the library. And she was like, you got to go to college, UNLV, to get that information. And then I came across chat, came across Grok, got brain books and everything else, and just scouring the internet because I still need these answers for this thing that doesn't exist. Started looking at neuroscience certifications and programs and everything else because the answers I'm getting, I need more information. There are 74 principles of real leadership, so it's going to take a lot of resources to continue to help with neuropability. So the 10, again, I will repeat them, and then we will close out. How to ask questions you don't know the answers to. Number 1, prepare your mindset. Don't do anything without a strategy. Accept that it's okay, I don't know, and that's okay because I'm getting ready to know. Clarify your goal. Are you looking for facts, processes, or perspective? Number 3, Number 2 is clarify your goal. Number 3, choose the right person or source. Do not ask experts and thought leaders and all of those other people because they don't know. So choose the right source and person. Frame the question clearly. You want to start with context. And you want to use who, what, why, where, when, and how. And use simple language. Number 5 is to be honest and humble. Be honest and humble. I don't know. I need your support. Number 6 is pick the right moment. Pick the right moment, read the room, use context clues to ask the question. And then number 7, listen actively. So you want to pay attention. You don't want to avoid interrupting people. And then you want to ask follow-up questions. So does this mean, are you saying this? Can you give an example? Number 8 is practice politeness. Please and thank you. Respect the person's time. Number 9 is start small. And so you're just asking questions that you already know the answer to or have simple answers to get that neural pathway built up so that you can get to the actual questions that you don't know the answers to. And then number 10, you want to follow up. And if the information you have isn't what you were looking for or isn't enough, then you're going to go have to seek multiple sources, because at the end of the day, you need this information that's going to help you become your best, achieve your goals, and get you to whatever level it is that you're currently working on. All right, with that being said, what questions do you have about how to ask questions when you don't know the answers to? The top 10 reasons why, or steps how to do it. And we are having an amazing airfield day again. No questions. Okay. And I have 2 questions for you this morning. What did you learn today? And what did you learn about yourself? Kevin, everything was perfectly explained and I understood. Regina, oh yeah, how did you finally learn how to spell facade? I finally learned it because I was in a class in college and somebody said it in and wrote it. And I think it might have been my one of my criminal justice professors that actually said it. Yeah, and it just came up again yesterday. That's why I said it, because that looks like, and even Kevin Hart, I'm not really a fan of him, but he said it was in the script, and he kept talking about facade, and they finally had to tell him that it was facade. So yeah, what can you do to know when to ask questions? You can, when to ask questions is, are you saying, give me a little bit more context with that? Because my initial answer would be if you're getting ready to do something and you don't know how to do it. So I put a brain t-shirt on and didn't really know about the brain. So at that point, I'm like, I'm a nerd and we're going to learn about the brain, because my research has led me to the point where the reason why you can't hold yourself personally accountable is because you're not using your brain. And who would have thought 8 months later, 8, 9 months later, now I'm got to go to learn about neuroscience. Like, what the, huh? What the hell? So we will work on that, my amazing offspring. I will start identifying it for you so that you can start getting the synapse. Because what's happening is the neurons aren't firing, so they can't even fire to say, oh, we need to go create this neural pathway. So we can work on that. I know where you live and where you work, so I will help you with that. And the questions are, again, what did you learn today and what did you learn about yourself? And Kevin has said, I learned that there is a process in knowing how to ask questions. That is correct. There definitely is. Effective questions, because you can ask a bunch of questions. You can ask about sports facts. I don't know how much that's going to help you in your day-to-day life, but you can have that information. Regina said, I learned that preparing my mindset is important. I had no idea that was relevant. Yes, ma'am. It is so relevant, 100%. And it will also help you with the confidence of asking the question. Because you'll say, I don't know, they do know, I need to know what they know. I don't really care what it looks like because I need to know what you know. Point blank, period. Nola said, I learned about myself. Sometimes I don't ask questions because of overconfidence. That is correct. And then Nola also said, I learned you can ask follow-up questions after asking questions to be completely clear. Yes, you do not leave until you are clear. And if that information that you have is not enough, then you go ask more questions to other people or other AI entities or other searches, books, but you have to get the answer for the thing that you are working on. So like I said, I started with variable mind ads and articles, and it worked. But the more I understood, it's like peeling the onion back. It's like, well, what about that? And what about that? And now I'm all the way to neuroscience. Yeah, it's awesome. And I think Kevin has one more. Yes, and Regina too. Regina said, I learned that being curious is important for my continued growth and learning. And additionally, it's also for your working memory. Because remember, that working memory stops at 35, and then by 65, it's like MIA. So the more you can keep asking questions. And the other thing neurologically, that remember, when you're asked the question, when you ask questions, the person answer it, they get a serotonin boost, you get a dopamine boost, a natural dopamine boost, because you're asking a question, you were seeking it, and now you have it. And so there is this exchange of neurotransmitters as well. So it's a win-win. When it works, it's a win-win for everybody involved. And then the person answering it gets a nice little serotonin boost. So that's why it feels like when people are saying they had a great conversation, they just exchanged neurotransmitters, those hormones. Kevin, myself, after visiting Nola's Instagram page and seeing she was assembling furniture and not reading any instructions, I am embarrassed for myself. Why would you be embarrassed for yourself? That ain't what you do. You the money man. Why would you do that? Nola has 3 mental illnesses. That's what they do. People with mental illness can do that. That's why they are accountants, forensic accountants, and air traffic controllers, mathematicians, physicists, and everything. Right. That ain't what you do. She actually sees in pictures. So the words, the instructions, when the manuals come, when the manuals come with words, she going straight to the pictures. I'm like, read the words, it's words there. So, and then I'm like, if something goes left, I'm like, you're going to have to go back and read the instructions. That's why she's so good at IKEA, because IKEA has too many different languages, so that's why they don't put any languages in it at all. Because now they come, these manuals is like this big, QR codes, 1 page. You got the even with glasses on. I'm like, this is insane. They cutting corners on all kind of stuff. Definitely. I love it. Got it. Yes. So now you can see what she does. And you definitely have an appreciation for it after you looked at that doggone kitchen island and said, yeah, no. And the boxes are getting smaller and smaller and smaller, which means that you got to put everything together. Things that used to come on it when you brought it out the box because the box was bigger, they're cubing out these trailers. It's just condensed. And they'll have a manual to say 10 steps to sell people. That is only 10 steps, but they'll literally have like 8 steps in step 1. And it's really like 48 steps, but okay, got it, 50 steps. But in the manual, it's 10 steps with multiple steps in 1 step. Okay, all right. So thank you for your time this morning. What I will say is 2 things. I have come to the point, and Regina probably has appreciation for this because she's on the other side of menopause, where I'm in my don't fuck with me phase of my life. Because I really don't. I'm losing estrogen by the nanosecond, and that's okay. Getting more testosterone, which is a good thing. Because I need more testosterone, right? So anyway, my tolerance and my patience, and I've actually been tolerant and patient with people more than I would like to be, is that I don't have a tolerance for it anymore. And so my amygdala was not hijacked. It was more of an irritation. And the vulgar thing that the person said that I reported was even worse than these other 2 people. So I've said this before, and I will say this again. I do not like fake Christians acting like God told them to do something. I don't like fake spiritual people. Regina is a Buddhist and she's very spiritual. I don't like when they come and start saying the sunshine is because I can feel that bullshit from 2 continents over. And so when you are experiencing this, do not let that hijack your amygdala. I'm holding these hypocritical ass motherfuckers personally accountable with their bullshit. So I'm not about to let that rhetoric go unchecked. As soon as I opened that kitchen island box and saw all those pieces, I instantly said, hell no, I'm calling somebody. And that's the messages that we get in TaskRabbit, outside of TaskRabbit, on Yelp. I started it. I'm on step 1. The screw is stuck. Help. My spouse, my friend tried to. Something's backwards. I spent a lot of money. I don't want to mess this up. We get code red man down messages a lot, at least once a week, especially now when people are like, yeah, I can put it together myself. I used to put, then they start pointing that stuff in their house. Well, I put that together. I put that together. I'm like, do you know how many tools? Her whole third row seat of her Dodge Journey is folded down, full of equipment to be able to basically put anything together, fix manufacturing defects and everything. So yeah, don't feel bad. And there's people with tool sheds that still can't get it done. So my point is that in the event, because it's summer and people are bored, anybody else comes back, don't get your amygdala hijacked. Go get you some popcorn, get you some tea, because what I am doing is holding people accountable for their antics. If you come over here, you are going to get held accountable for what you're doing. Is it going to stop them? No, but it's going to stop them from coming over here and doing it. This is a no fuck around. You can't, no fuckery over here. You either going to come over here and learn how to use your brain, or you're going to come over here and get what you get for trying to disrupt the people who are over here learning how to use their brain. So if it feels intense, why should I have to do anything other than what I'm doing? I woke up, I prepared for my live, and I came to give you a lesson. And so this whole notion of why ain't she doing something? Why are they over here disrupting my learning environment? That's the question. Why? Because unaccountable people need a host. They need to prey on people who are actually doing something positive so they can destroy it because of negativity bias. So this whole, why you just don't block them? Why you just don't say this? Why don't they just stop? Why don't they just become personally accountable? That's how I see that. Because that's what we're on the receiving end of every day we wake up, is some person's unaccountability antics that we have to now override. We now have to decide and problem solve and decision make based upon them being personally unaccountable, because they won't fix themselves first. Now we got to fix some shit. Now I got to make some decisions that I didn't feel like making this morning. Now I got 50 shades of 7 degrees of personal accountability. Why? When I'm over here teaching you how to use the brain, because they're bored, because they need a dopamine boost. So prepare yourself. I'm not going to be nice every time somebody says something and I deleted it. But when they come talking about the spiritual shit and they start talking about Jesus, you gonna get checked, because they did not, the universe didn't tell you to do it. God didn't tell you to do it. Jesus didn't tell you or nobody else, because I'm over here doing higher power universe and in spiritual work over here. So that's when I'm going to click off save. The final thing, this air from this rain yesterday. The final thing that I will say is I found a course, and it is from the Hebrew University in Jerusalem. And the course that I started taking yesterday, it's a 3-week course. It's on synapses, neurons, and brains. That's the name of the course. And so I have assignments due, and I have lectures online. Started lesson 1 this morning. And it really is explaining to me. So if you ask higher power God in the universe, my Bible says you have not because you ask not. I needed to understand why neuroscience is so difficult. I needed to understand that. And even with the University of Penn or Pennsylvania University, Noel's going to tell me which one it was because I get them mixed up. They were saying the basis for the neuroscience certificate was you were going to have to take this one course, Neuroscience 100, and it was going to give you physics and these other things. And I was like, I just don't feel like that's correct right now. Can I get to that? Yes. But I need a different understanding. And so the Hebrew University of Jerusalem had explained to me this morning what is taking place. And so the short answer is this. We have had this brain that we have for 200,000 years. And it changed a little bit. And then in about 10,000 years, it was big and then it got small. but now it's the same brain. So what neuroscientists have to do, and there's 7 levels, neuroscientists have to take the genomes or the genes and work step by step by step and get all the way to behavior. So we got the genes down here, just the cells, and now we have behaviors up here in these levels. You can't go from the genes to the behaviors and the diseases without going through all of these other levels. And so how the professor explained it to me is that if you think about Leonardo da Vinci, back in the day before, they used to say, oh, the brain, that's biology. And now what they're understanding is, well, how did the brain create AI? How did the brain create vehicles? How did the brain do all of these things? It's so diverse. So now they have all these different groups that have come together. So you got neuroscience, neurologists, cognitive disorder, human and primate behaviors, cognition, plasticity, development, neuroscience, qualitative analysis, neural circuitry, and computational and theoretical neuroscience. So it's all these different entities coming together and assessing each one. So it's neuroscientists at every level to develop theories. And this lecture is from 2016. To develop these theories, because something has to hold from the genes to the top of the brain's behavior together. And they're saying theory, and they're using math for it. So it's some math in there, some physics in there. Yay. I don't know how I'm going to enjoy that part. But I do have quizzes, and I do have 2 exams that I have to take in order to get through the course. So this will be interesting because, again, I had to start preparing because we're getting ready to finish up these 74 principles for leadership. So what are we going to be talking about? But nobody explained that to me. So I had to go, and thank you, God, for the internet. I had to go all the way to the Hebrew, I want to say Jerusalem University, but it's the Hebrew University of Jerusalem in order for me to get this information. So if you don't know, ask. That's the whole point, is that I didn't know. And I kept asking and kept asking. And I'm like, this is not the answer that I need in order to teach what I'm teaching. And now I understand the gap because everybody just kept saying, well, I just studied this part and I just studied this part. Well, I just studied this part. And I'm like, why? Why do you just study this part? Why do you just study this part? And now I know because it's genes and then there's all this other stuff in the middle. And even when you're studying behaviors, the people that are studying the behaviors are not the people that are studying the actual disease. And the psychotherapists are in the middle of that, and they're studying a different portion, which is the behaviors as well. And now I have this total understanding of why I can't just go search what I need to search. Now, that may be clear. If that's clear to you, give me a thumbs up. If not, I'm basically saying now I understand. My generic question was, why can't the neuroscientists just say this? And why can't the psychotherapist and the psychiatrist say this? Because it's not that simple. And everybody just kept saying it's complicated. But my professor, and I'm going to pronounce his name improperly, it is Idan Sergev, because that's a V. And now I'm going to have to go find out how to pronounce that. And the TA is Guy Eyal. So let me know if that's clear to you all. But I found the course that will get me some more information and send me into this other level of neuroscience, which I was just like, nah, this certificate don't feel right. This coaching thing doesn't feel right because I don't have my answer as to why hasn't it happened? And I've been berating people and saying, I just don't understand why they can't and why they can't. And their answer has continued to be because the brain is complicated, because it's complicated. But knowing that it's been 200,000 years, 10,000 years is where we have the size of the brain that we have. And how can it do all these other things? How is this possible? And now they're working on theories to put it together, and they're using it to connect with math. So yes or no, if I'm still too theoretical, because I'm saying this to you all because by next Friday, Saturday, y'all will get as watered down a version as I possibly can. So this is me neuroning. I'm giving you some neurogenesis, and so you can start having these neurons start firing, so you too will understand what's actually taking place. And if I hadn't have kept searching, if I had just said this is what it is, and I'm listening to Jim Quick and them, then I wouldn't. And yeah, I wouldn't have this information to now say, oh, now that makes sense. So I will stop being upset with the neuroscientists and the psychiatrists and psychologists and all those. Well, it's really psychiatrists because, yeah, the behavioral people, because you need tech in there too, and math, the physicists. It's a united front. They're calling it the Da Vinci method, I think. Yeah. It's called the Why didn't I write that down? The Da Vinci generation of brain researchers is what it's called. So it's theory-driven brain research. Is Kevin the only one that understood? Regina, Nola? Okay. Regina said, it's great that you found the professor in the Hebrew Institute. That's interesting because who knew there were so many levels and interconnectedness? Yeah, I didn't until he said it this morning. I had no idea. But remember, I've been quite angry with the group. So I had to go all the way to Jerusalem. Isn't that ironic? I had to go all the way to Jerusalem to get my information. I feel like the alchemist right now. All right. Thank you very much for your time this morning. Go off and ask questions. Get that neural pathway going. Get those neurons firing so that you can have synapses and you can just be like, go back to your, tap into your inner toddler, and just ask and ask and ask and ask. It's actually not a time. It's on my time. So I get to go in myself. It's not timed. So it's from 2016. So it's already there. So I just go in and do my modules on my own. It's self-paced. I think that's the best way to qualify it. Yes. So it's when I got time. But their modules are about 10 to 16 minutes in each lesson. So it's about 8 modules per lesson. And I have an assignment due in 5 days and another assignment. The good news is, and the other reason why I did it this way too, is it's actually a free course too. You could pay to get the certificate, but I'm like, I don't know shit about this. And yeah, I've been in school since 2008. So let me go slow to go fast. You do have access to the forums and chats. So in case you need to do that, you do have access to them. So you can do that. It's this, I forgot the name of the organization, but they just put a whole bunch of information together from a bunch of different sources. I can have that information tomorrow. So you can pay, I think it's like $45 to get the certificate, but I'm like, I just need to get back into this. And it's so complicated. And I don't know how complicated it's going to be because it's neuroscience. So you get to take the quizzes over as many times as you want, but you only have 3 times to pass each exams. So this is me testing it. So far, so good. I've got more information from this than anything else. So yeah, and my heart is palpitating. I'm like, how the hell am I studying the brain? I got this ain't how to, oh, okay, got it. Now I got to do physics and code and go back. But it is what it is because we got to figure this thing out. And this is the path that I'm on. So yeah. So I do not have time for people coming to be disruptive when I'm literally attempting to, just like them, to understand how you get from genes to these doggone behaviors and all that stuff in between. So there you have it. All right. I will be back tomorrow, same time, same place, safe space for most people. Unless you're coming over here trying to start some shit, then you get what you get. Don't start none, won't be none. But we got air and opportunity over here. We serve it up daily if need be. Okay. You all go off and have a fantastic. Oh, and Regina, you should go to I think I put it on YouTube too and Instagram. We had a gecko stuck on our door, our sliding door in our kitchen. And yeah, that was interesting. And then we came home and yeah, it's 2 videos. Gotta love the desert. And you know, from being in Florida, they show up. I had one come in the house in Florida, but it was funny after the fact. It wasn't funny before the fact, but after the fact it was. Okay. You all go off and have I think it's Friday. Yes, you all have a fantastic Friday. And for those of you who are available, we will, yes. Thank you, Lola. I appreciate that. We're gonna see how this goes. Well, I ain't got no choice, right? When your back is against the wall, you come out learning. Okay. Thank you so much for the support. I appreciate it. You all go off and ask plenty of questions. And remember, just start small. Ask people, if you're going to a restaurant today, just ask them what's on the menu. What's the special? What comes on that? Just start asking questions. That's how you get this neural pathway to the point where now you will be studying with the Hebrew University of Jerusalem. There you go. All right. Take care. See y'all later. Bye-bye.